Hi, and welcome back to another round of interviews. Here I'm with Erwin, who is an ABT expert, and we're going to talk about how can we rethink facade systems to create future better facade systems. Hi,
Hi, Bernadette. Thanks for having me.
thanks for being here.
I brought some examples with me, so I would gladly to tell you something about how we see that we can meet the goals of Paris Proof.
Yes, please, let's dive in.
I brought some examples with me, and
Very nice.
I use a 10-hour strategy and something about refusing and reducing, and we call that the integrated design method. For instance, how would you, well, let's say, refurbish a beer bottlery in Germany? What we thought of is, okay, well, it has a quality. It's very nice building, but it has single glazing. It's very old. So how can we
Which we don't want to have anymore. We want to be, more energy efficient.
more energy efficient?
Yeah.
So, but there was another topic because the soil was poisoned.
Yeah, I see. We have.
Yeah.
It's not something I want to see in my plan.
Yeah. So, and the client would like to have more office space. So how could we do that? And well, we thought about it, and to start with this whole factory here, it has a very strong floor because there were beer bottles there, and this single glazing. So we thought, how can I make a new office building? And so we thought, well, we called it the elephant, but can I not make a new volume inside?
So we have a room in a room.
A room in a room, which is fully climatized, so you have a very nice office space here. That was the idea. So can I not have a kind of hybrid climate aside, because it's only
So we have layers.
Yeah.
So we have our outer part, then we have a layer, then we have a volume, then we have another layer,
yes,
and then we have like a system,
yes,
a sequence.
yeah, and so and in that way you can reduce the amount of energy a lot, and you refuse to make a new facade because that costs a lot.
Of energy, a lot of carbon emissions,
And
a lot
carbon
of input.
emissions.
Yeah.
So this is fully climatized, the office building here, and here is hybrid. But you can extend that to the whole building. So people here in a restaurant, they do not need to be fully climatized. You can sit there with
With a jacket or like a jacket.
yes, something like that. So and that's how we did it. And of course, we need an extension for like a restaurant. So what we did is that we had columns exactly on a position where they were. We made a simple truss where we followed the prefabricated thing, and there on that top we made a new
Which
restaurant.
is a lot of additional load
Yes.
on the structure that you already have here.
Yes, and that's why we always use our computational solutions. We have a very good finite element calculations, so we could even predict how strong the soil could be.
So the skulls are happy.
Yes, because there was a lot of overcapacity, so we could use that for making this nice extension.
So in total, we have different climates.
Yeah.
We have different sequence of different facade
Yeah.
systems. And we also think about different climate scenarios in the same
Yeah.
buildings. So here in the cafe, we don't have to have the same climate. The same climate like in the office.
No.
And how do you get to that?
Yes, and we use wood because it should be very lightweight. So we made an integral detail. So we thought of course, first you need beams to make it strong enough.
Yeah.
But we thought, well, how can I integrate it? So what we did is that we had a laminated wooden panel, CLT. So and we made two types of panels, and because fire cannot get to this beam anymore, so it's much safer from fire safety point of view. And by putting gravel in it, because I need weight for acoustics, and a computer floor on top of it, I have a plenum here, so all the air can come in here.
Flow through.
Yes, and I can get the gravel out if I would like to. So I have a circular bio-based structure, and I can reuse everything which is in it.
So you constructed something, and then you can also deconstruct the whole system again to use it maybe for a different purpose in the future, maybe for the same building again somewhere else. But yeah, you have a whole system that you can put into its own layers again.
Yeah, that was the basic idea for this building.
Interesting. Now we go to the next example, reuse in design.
Yes.
What is reuse in design?
Well,
For ABT, of course.
yes, of course. What we see is that we have a lot of existing buildings, and when we refurbish them, it has a lot of quality. So how can we reuse that one? And for instance, we are now working on a project which is called the Palace of Justice. And what you see, it's a very 90s-like office building with horizontal bands like we knew them. The windows cannot open, but how can we make it more lively and more comfortable? Because not opening windows is not healthy for you.
Yeah, it's not something that people like in the office.
I mean, you see that the plants in these office, they're all the same. These are the only plants that can survive. Other ones will die. So it's
something that we want in our rooms. Is that a concrete facade?
No, it's natural stone.
Natural stone.
So it has a very high quality and it has very good performance. So we should reuse that.
Yeah.
And also glass in itself is very good because it can last over 100 years. Only look at the insulation. That's not working. So
it's something that we need to think about.
Yes. So looking at the existing two facades, I have and this was the facade of the tower, and this was of the low rise. What we did for the low rise is that we kept the same band. That's what we did, but we got rid of all those panels. So we got more space,
more window space,
and we could make one of those operable. So
when we can have our fresh air again.
Yes, that will be an idea. And looking at the vertical facade, we again have so you have to do something within the same height. We reused the nature stone on the top and on the bottom, and we turned them 90 degrees around. Yeah, we turned them 90 degrees around, and in that way, we could reuse the glass again. And what you see, what's left, we still need some new glazing, which is here.
How much was that? How much glass?
I don't know, but a lot.
A lot of new glass.
So what we're going to do is to get these new glazing from existing projects. What we also do is that we retrieve the existing glass here, and we are going to make new insulated panels with the existing glass. So that's how we see that you could reuse
a whole facade.
Yeah. In the same project.
In this case, with all the material?
Yes.
Maybe you need a bit more glass because you got rid of some portion of the window.
Correct.
And here,
we have some extra nature stone left, but we can retrieve glass from other projects.
Yeah.
So
urban mining.
Urban mining. That's what we do.
It's a big keyword.
Yes. That's this project.
Thank you. Very interesting. Off to the next one. So now we are reuse and refurbish.
Yeah.
I'm seeing we're going down the ladder.
We're going down the ladder, and it still is important because reuse and refurbish is of course about the embodied carbon.
Yes.
But it's very helpful if you look at operational carbon. So maybe you can win a lot of operational carbon by doing a bit less on the embodied carbon part.
So it depends on the project.
Yes, always. So we had a 90s office building, and it's very nice. It was very nice detailed. I mean,
with a brick facade.
A brick facade, sunscreens in it, and
with concrete.
Yes, concrete inner panel, and you see some colors already here. But what you see is that you have a very nice brick facade, which is here. And we have a concrete inner layer there, and you already see what they've done. They made an inner wall extra because of the comfort. Yeah. So
which is additional process, additional material. If we think about the life cycle.
Yes, but so this was the status that what we saw at first. It's all about the reduction of energy use. So we first thought, well, why not make a thicker or better insulated inner wall here? But what we saw is that I have to add 50% extra material, and I only gained 15% of energy win.
Which is not a lot,
so,
if we see the numbers.
So to us, that's a total waste of carbon.
Yeah.
So if you look to the colors, the problem is here in the glass. And here we have a cold bridge. So why not think more locally? So can I not take out the glass, make new insulated glass of those panels, and have introduce a cold bridge here, so I can solve the biggest issue there. And that's what we did in this project. So we reduced the energy a lot by doing less instead of
Which
everything.
is nice.
Yes.
If you do less and get even more out of it. So this means, did you exchange the inner layer, or did you just do
We did
something here?
only the glass and only the aluminum framing. That's what was new. But what you see here is that you have to really focus on what's the problem.
Mhm.
Not do I think this is good. No, be specific and look what
And find out where is the problem.
Yeah.
Where do we need to
Yeah.
get in,
Yes.
and then do
do as
tiny
do
change.
as less as possible. That's what.
the highest amount.
Yes, that's what we thought.
Thank you. So now we had some examples about how we can rethink our future facade systems. Thank you very much, Erwin, for your time, and see you soon.
See you soon.